Coming up, Roe versus Wade is overturned. We're speaking to one of the only Indigenous abortion funds in the country. Plus, meet a woman who wants the Dakota language to take center stage for her tribe's daily communications. And the Redding Ranchera wins a lawsuit against its local city. I am Aaliyah Chavez. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at Arizona State University is honored to be a supporter of Indian Country Today. ASU offers the only online undergraduate digital media literacy degree, teaching students how to recognize and combat inaccuracies on all platforms. They are using cutting-edge tools and tactics to separate fact from fiction in a digital world overloaded with misinformation. Learn more at cronkite.asu.edu.
This is the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez.
Amarawa Hopa, thank you for joining us. The U.S. Supreme Court has overturned a landmark decision that previously had been upheld for decades. The High Court reversed Roe versus Wade on Friday. This means the constitutional right to an abortion, which was upheld for nearly half a century, no longer exists. Since 1973, Roe versus Wade had permitted abortions during the first 2 trimesters of pregnancy in the U.S. Going forward, abortion rights will be determined by states unless Congress acts. Already, many U.S. states have or will pass laws that ban abortion. Others have enacted strict measures regulating the procedure, and there will be more to come later in our newscast. In Oklahoma, Tuesday's primary election is set. ICT's Polly Dinette is tracking 2 Native candidates running for Congress. They are running to represent Cherokee Congressman Markwayne Mullen's seat. Mullen is running for Senate, which is why his seat will be vacant.
Try to make that difference. That's why we decided to run.
In a crowded field of 14 Republicans running to represent Oklahoma's District 2, Wes Nofire and Guy Barker are aiming to stand out from the crowd. Nofire, a Cherokee councilman, says he decided to run because of the state of the country.
The freedoms that I had, the opportunity that was given to me by my parents, and, we had so much availability to do things when we aspired to live out our dreams. And right now, the way the country's going and the direction that it's headed, I fear for my kids and what kind of country they're going to inherit.
Nofire is a conservative candidate. As a former nationally ranked boxer, he is running on a platform of standing up and fighting for important issues. One of them is the McGirt decision.
Being in the background of Native American policy and affairs on this specific issue, there's nobody that's running for Congress that has that capability of being able to find solutions to some of the problems and obstacles that's arisen out of that.
Nofire isn't the only candidate talking about the McGirt decision. Guy Barker, who is Quapaw and Osage, is the Secretary-Treasurer of the Quapaw Nation. He has a background in law and has clerked for the Oklahoma Supreme Court.
There seems to be attitudes, whether it be from leadership at other tribal governments or specifically also the leadership here in the state and governor's office has the stance that this is an insolvable issue, that it needs to be reversed. I don't see it that way. This is a decision that is called for the enhancement of criminal jurisdiction.
Barker believes his background gives him an advantage to help bridge the conversations between state and tribal leaders.
I'm the only one with a law degree actually running in my race, so I feel kind of uniquely qualified to be able to walk us along that tightrope. But I think it's ever more important that with this being such a front stage issue, that we have somebody that one understands the legal complexities of it.
There are key locations in this district, including the headquarters of the Choctaw Nation, as well as the capitals of the Cherokee, Muskogee Creek, and Chickasaw Nations. In Washington, D.C., Polly Dinette for ICT News.
The winner of the Republican primary is likely to win the general election in November, and we'll check in with Polly Dinette after Election Day for results. Well, a chance meeting is helping to return sacred artifacts to one indigenous nation. According to reporting by the New York Times, nearly 20 years ago, Yaqui citizen Andrea Carmen was invited to view a Swedish museum's Americas collection. That was when she spotted artifacts from her tribal nation. It took the museum 11 years to issue an official response and 8 more for the artifacts to be returned. This month, museum officials, the Swedish and Mexican governments, and the United Nations met to begin the transfer. This is the first successful repatriation of cultural artifacts to an indigenous group overseen by the UN under its Declaration of Indigenous Rights. Now there is a new push to have the UN's cultural agency create a database of indigenous artifacts in museums and universities. In New York State, Indigenous Peoples Day is officially being recognized in one city. Last week, Rochester's City Council unanimously voted to permanently recognize the holiday. Ronalyn Pollock, who is the chair of the Indigenous Peoples Day Planning Committee, says the monumental vote was long overdue. Pollock went on to say this brings an opportunity for healing, not only between people, but also to the land. Rochester Mayor Malik Evans says he is in strong support of the day. All city offices will be closed on October 10th of this year. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. Coming up, what does the Supreme Court decision about abortion mean for Indigenous people? And the Redding Ranchera wins a lawsuit against its local city. But first, how do Indigenous people keep their traditional languages relevant? Stay with us. Indian country today is now ICT. Revitalizing any language is challenging, and Erin Griffin is ready to go. The recipient of a Bush Fellowship, Erin is a student of the Dakota language. She is finishing a doctoral degree in Indigenous language and culture revitalization. She's also a program officer for Indigenous education at the American Indian College Fund. Welcome, Erin, and congratulations to you.
Hi, thank you, Aaliyah.
So I want to talk about your fellowship. Tell us about some of the goals that you have.
Some of the goals. So I think it's really grounded in my vision for the Dakota language, which is Makoche Ataya, Dakota Oyate Ki, Unkiapikte. So I would like for Dakota people to speak the language everywhere, every day in everyday situations. And so to be able to do that, I would like to finish my doctorate and also increase my Dakota language proficiency to be able to help me achieve this goal and work with my community to do that. So within my doctorate, I'm doing research on how to establish domains for the use of the Dakota language as a medium of communication. And part of that is, at the foundation of that is working specifically with women to create those safe and strong spaces for the use of the language. And then the third part of how I'm working on this is actually self-care. Taking care of myself, creating spaces for intention and rejuvenation, and also silence, the ability to think about what it is we need to do and how we need to move through these spaces, and being able to share that with others and show others that, you know, it's okay to take care of ourselves, and that can actually help us achieve our goals and our dreams.
You mentioned one of your goals being able to use the Dakota language in everyday life. What are some examples of how you see that fitting in?
Well, I'd really like to ground it actually in seasonal movement and preparation, and how we interact with our environment on a daily basis. And so a part of that could be, gathering women together to use the language in a space where maybe we're gathering medicine or harvesting from a garden, visiting sacred sites together. and using the language in context in those spaces. And my hope is that, with a core group of women that are doing these things together, we can get ourselves comfortable in this space and normalize the use of the language. And with that, women lead families. Women nurture and pass on culture and language. And so my hope is that the same women that come together in these spaces can spread that throughout their families and throughout not just this community, but all Dakota communities.
I want to talk about immersion schools because that seems to be like a really hot topic in Indian country in terms of revitalizing language. What are your thoughts on immersion schools?
I think they're a key part of the movement. There's a lot of different things that we need to be doing for language revitalization, not just for Dakota, but for all communities. Immersion is important to that, but family is also important to that. Community support is important to that. And so we need to look at a lot of different places to make this happen. And before I actually got into my doctorate program, I had the chance to visit with a parent from one of the immersion schools in Hawaii, and she shared with our group that they send their kids to immersion school to support what they're doing at home. If they didn't have the immersion schools, they would still be doing that work and speaking the language every day. So again, I think they're critical. They're critical to supporting children. And we need other pieces to help that along as well.
I want to end on a good note here. We only have about a minute left, but if you're speaking to someone who maybe needs encouragement or advice in terms of, wanting to get better at speaking their language or try to speak their language, what do you say to them?
Use what you know on a daily basis. And if all you know how to say is huh or hello, then say it and use it, and use the language within context. I think oftentimes we hear that we need this new book or this new technology, when language is actually us speaking with each other and talking. So use what you know, use it every day, and push those spaces, and don't be afraid. And that's easier said than done. But once you start doing it, it's almost like a waterfall. You learn more and you progress faster when you're in those spaces.
Well, Erin, I've enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Indigenous Women Rising is one of the only Indigenous abortion funds in the country. After Friday's overturn on the landmark Roe v. Wade decision, the organization is reacting. Joining us today is Nicole Martin, who is the organization's sex educator. Hi, Nicole. Thank you for being here.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So let's flash back to Friday when Roe v. Wade was overturned. What was your immediate reaction when you found out the news?
I feel like leading up, or just this whole month, we were kind of on guard. We already knew that the decision was going to happen sometime this month. We just didn't know when. So a lot of us at Indigenous Women Rising had like different feelings. Some of us were very down. However, just having conversations with fellow organizers, I just kind of knew like, oh, we got this, especially as Indigenous people.
Maybe talk about Indigenous Women Rising being the one of the only Indigenous abortion funds in the country. What kinds of services do you offer?
Yeah, so our abortion fund was founded in 2018. We filmed a documentary called Young Dakota, and which is, I think, a documentary everyone should watch. Um, and that actually kicked off our fundraiser for our abortion fund. And since 2018, our abortion fund has adapted to our material conditions. So, um, in the beginning, we used to be able to provide stipends based on trimester. So, like $75 first trimester, $100 second trimester, $175 for the third trimester. But now, fast forward to 2022, we were able to up, just to give an example, like up until April, we took a break from funding just to kind of uh, replenish the fund again. But up until April of 2022, we were able to provide full coverage for first trimester callers who were seeking abortion care. And so just kind of to show like just the difference in like how much we've grown as a organization and as an abortion fund as well.
So you help Indigenous people specifically. Maybe talk. I mean, we've heard so many reasons why people get abortions, but maybe talk about some of the stories that you've heard and the people that you've helped.
Yeah, so a lot of our callers, their situation ranges from they're already parents and they can't afford to bring in or take care of another life, to some of our callers being in domestic violent households and are wanting to leave those types of situations. And so it really varies. But one thing's for sure is that since 2018, we've been funding relatives to travel outside of their home states to seek abortion care. And currently, we're funding in 37 states. And so, after or on Friday, a lot of our callers were getting their appointments canceled that day. And so just kind of to show, the severity of what's happening, especially with our callers and the situation that we're in with Roe v. versus Wade being overturned.
I understand that on Friday, I follow you on social media. So I was seeing a lot of people saying support and donate to Indigenous Women Rising. Is there any information you can share in terms of how much money you raised or how much support you were able to receive after this?
Yeah, so my executive director posted a tweet that kind of they calculated since the passage of SB 8 in Texas on September 1st, 2021 to now, we have spent over or close to $160,000 just on care for relatives. And so usually when we fundraise, we try to at least fundraise around that much or 200,000, right? And that is what a lot of our fund is based off of is donation. We have monthly donors who are working class people who donate $5 to $8 a month. Regardless, anything helps. And this funding, it helps our relatives get, their procedure that they need, food, gas, childcare, hotel, flights, medicine that they need after they have their procedure, aftercare products like menstrual hygiene, just things to make sure that they're being taken well care of is what our abortion fund provides.
We only have about 30 seconds left, but you mentioned earlier in the interview that if anything, this Roe versus Wade overturning decision has, you said, put a fire underneath you. It is inspiring you. Maybe talk about that.
Yeah, so after seeing a lot of the actions or the snap actions in response to the decision on Friday, it felt very humbling to know and to witness myself, relatives show up for one another. And for me and for our organization, that's one of our core values is being good relatives. And so seeing people show up and show out to support abortion care is really great, and I hope it continue to do that.
Well, Nicole Martin, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Have a beautiful one.
Indian country today is now ICT. In Northern California, a tribal nation called the Redding Ranchera recently won a lawsuit against the local city of Redding. The tribe sued the city after it abandoned a road leading to a casino that the tribe was building. Joining us today is Redding Ranchera CEO Tracy Edwards. Hi, Tracy. Welcome back.
Hi, good morning.
So at a high level, tell us about this lawsuit and who was at odds with who.
Well, it's been really unfortunate. We've been working probably 15 years on the Fee to Trust process to move our casino to our Aboriginal lands, which is located along Interstate 5. And we've been working with the city and the county through the whole process. They've been cooperating agencies. They've been giving us their concerns. We've been working through that. And then lo and behold, unbeknownst to us, during COVID, when the public was not allowed into city council meetings, the city of Redding declared the land surplus, abandoned it, sold it off to an organization that has been opposing the casino, Shasta Land Holdings, who has connections to a local billionaire in town who has been openly and obviously fighting the tribe. So all of this happened during COVID. We were unaware that it happened. And so we sued the city because we believe they violated the Street and Highways Code, the Land Surplus Act, and CEQA. And we recently won that lawsuit. Judge Woods in Shasta County did an exceptional job of outlining how not only did the city violate their own policies when they put together the agenda, but that they very blatantly violated 3 separate laws. And so we're currently going through the remedy phase of our lawsuit.
To your understanding, why would the city not want your casino there?
Well, I think that it's been a small group of people in town who have influence. I mentioned our local billionaire who owns Sierra Pacific Industries. He has originally, when we met with him, he told us that he did not oppose the casino, and now he has a home near the area that we want to move the casino to. So that's our guess. And so because of that, they've been spending a lot of money and time and effort to slow down or block the casino. And I think it's been unfortunate because we have been working for years with the city and the county. So it was very unfortunate. What the judge said was the city took about 11 days to get through this entire process. And a very similar case in Placer County took that city 21 months to complete. So it's just incredible that the city managed to do all of those things and get that land sold off in 11 days. And this land is 100 yards. It's the roadway that leads right into our property.
You mentioned that now you're in the remedy phase. What exactly does that look like, and what is the tribe asking for now?
Well, we have just completed all the briefings, and we want to undo the transaction. We want everything to go back to the way it was, where we had legitimate access to our land, and that we can continue down the path that we've been working on with the city and the county to improve the roads and move forward on getting things into place so that the land can go into trust.
Based on what you're saying, in terms of how this process was sped up in 11 days, what do you think that says for tribal sovereignty and, more importantly, tribal consultation, which it seems like has been really important lately? But what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts. Another thing I want to add to this is right across the roadway, the city had just approved a massive Costco project. As we're speaking, they're moving dirt around, cutting down trees, and they've taken this entire swath of land and they're building a Costco, yet they've decided right across the road that they don't want a casino. I think that the disappointing part for us up here is that the government still still screwing over tribes, so I think that behind closed doors, at a disadvantage to us, it's unfortunate that this stuff still goes on. And I think that we're just very disheartened that government is still not working with tribes and behind closed doors taking action that's very detrimental to us.
Can you sort of tell us more about how much gaming is an influence in the state of California and specifically in Northern California?
Well, up in Northern California, we have a handful of tribes around us that game, and as other tribes who game know, we're in a very rural area up here. The gaming proceeds has enabled us to be we're the fifth largest employer in Shasta County. We have close to 800 employees. We run tribal programs for the community, for our tribe, and the gaming dollars provides jobs, provides philanthropic giving. I mean, we help the city all the time with projects that they're doing or events that they're holding. The tribe is the first person they call to help contribute to that, because we have spent the last 30 years that we've had the casino being a good neighbor and sharing what we have with the community.
So it almost sounds like the casino is in fact helping the city. And so now you're in this position right now. Well, Tracy, we're unfortunately out of time, but thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For more news, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives. I am Aaliyah Chavez.
Sometimes you got to take a stand just because you know you can. Oh, you got to run, you got to run.